Your Honor, I'm sorry. How many times has this man testified in a trial? How long has he been I know he's a retired investigator. How long has he been an investigator? He knows he is not supposed to say that, Your Honor.
I would find it surprising if he isn't aware that that's not supposed to come out.
Yeah, it was chaos in the court today. Yo, let's get to it.
Mr. Weinstein.
Your Honor, this one you cannot fix. This is bad character evidence that came in. The state should have prepared their witness. I move for a mistrial. This absolutely cannot be unheard by the jury. It was heard clear as day in his deep, sonorous voice. They have heard it. They have absorbed it. It cannot be fixed. 404A, Your Honor.
Here, whatever response the state might be able to make on that.
Your Honor, that was not the state's intention.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Your Honor, that response didn't even come across my mind that would even have come out of our witness's mouth, Your Honor. The state's intention was to solely talk about the vehicle that he was standing on and the fact that he was standing on that vehicle. If you can just give us an opportunity just to look at some case law just to see if
Your Honor, I'm sorry. How many times has this man testified in a trial? How long has he been I know he's a retired investigator. How long has he been an investigator? He knows he is not supposed to say that, Your Honor.
I would find it surprising if he isn't aware that that's not supposed to come out. I do not believe that the state intended to elicit that, and I think that you actually yourself acknowledged up here at the bench that you don't believe that was the state's intention.
I do not believe it was their intention.
Nonetheless, it happened. Yeah. I'm going to give y'all about 15 minutes or so to find whatever you might be able to find.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
I ain't talked to nobody, but I 100% confirm what happened because Weinstein basically said it. I don't know why they were blurring out parts of the freaking testimony today and all that crap, but you could show inside of Magic City. Whatever. Anyways, basically what Dennis said was Yak Gotti had just got out of jail or prison. I'm going to assume jail, and then decided to do that. Which means what? Character witness. Which means he has a propensity to go back and forth to jail. That's what that was. So basically, you're already trying to paint him as he's already bad, but to the state's credit, well, they're already charging him with being a convicted felon anyway. So we already let them know that he's a convicted felon.
What is the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The state will ask that you deny defendant's motion for a mistrial. The state would like to cite the court to Swims v. State, which is 307 Georgia, 651, a 2020 case, Your Honor. In that case, which was the defendant's only enumeration of error, and I'm in Division 2 of that opinion, Your Honor, Swims contends that the trial court erred in denying his motion for mistrial after his character was improperly placed into evidence during Chelsea Owens' testimony. When the state asked Owens if Swims offered any reasoning for why he wanted to escape, Owens responded, and this is what the witness said in that case. I asked Swims, why would he do that? I said, why would you want to do that? He told me because they did not honor his fast and speedy trial. He was looking at getting off on a technicality because they didn't honor that. He didn't have that for his defense. He said he was doing time. He had a lot of time in West Virginia that he wasn't never going to get out. In that case, Swims' trial counsel immediately asked to approach the bench and moved for a mistrial. The trial court judge overruled Swims' objection and denied his motion. The state resumed its direct examination of Owens, who then testified that Swims provided another possible motivation for attempting an escape, that Swims had murdered Clemson. I asked him, did y'all kill that child? And he told me, why do you want out of here so bad? So that was how the testimony continued. I'm going to skip down. A trial court's denial of a motion for mistrial based on the improper admission of bad character evidence is reviewed for abuse of discretion by examining factors and circumstances, including the nature of the statement,
Slow down reading, please.
the other evidence in the case, and the action taken by the court and counsel concerning the impropriety. And they cite Smith v. State, 302 Georgia 699. A passing reference to a defendant's incarceration does not place his character in evidence. And they cite Lewis v. State, 287 Georgia 210 at Penn site 212. Furthermore, Owen's passing reference to Swim's incarceration in West Virginia for an unstated crime was an unexpected answer to the question asked by the prosecutor, who was attempting to establish that Clemson's murder was the reason Swims wanted out of jail so bad. And they see Walker v. State, 282 Georgia 703. A non-responsive answer that impacts negatively on a defendant's character does not improperly place his character in issue. After Swim's mistrial was denied, the state did not inquire further into Swim's crimes in West Virginia beyond a single confirmation that his incarceration there also served as a motive for escape. Your Honor, given what occurred in this case, Your Honor, the state's intention when I asked the question, what was the significance of that picture, the state's intention was solely to talk about the fact that Mr. Kendrick was standing on that car being that of Rayshon Bennett. His mother had identified that car yesterday during her testimony, Your Honor. So it was an inadvertent response, which was non-responsive to the state's answer, Your Honor. And given that is what occurred, Your Honor, the state would ask that you deny their motion. Furthermore, Your Honor, other factors that you look at in order to determine whether or not a mistrial should be granted is the nature of the statement, other evidence in the case, the action taken by the action taken by the court.
The what?
The actions taken by the court. Was the reference isolated and brief, and whether the jury's exposure was repeated and extensive, and was it inadvertent? Additionally, Your Honor, within the indictment, Your Honor, we did charge Mr. Kendrick as one of the overt acts in this indictment, which is Act 58, and he's also charged in this indictment in count 63 of this indictment, Your Honor, of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, previously convicted of a felony involving the use or possession of a firearm. Your Honor, so for the purposes of having to prove that count of the indictment, we will have to enter Mr. Kendrick's certified copy of his conviction, of course, with a limiting instruction that only be used against him, Your Honor. So the fact that came out during that testimony would not be substantially more prejudicial, Your Honor, given that, one, the jury has heard this indictment, and as well as this evidence will come out, at least that he was convicted, because we have to prove that portion of the indictment, Your Honor. So we would ask that the court deny his motion.
All right.
And we have instructed our witness past that as well.
Ms. Weinstein.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the Swims case cited by the state, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe that was a seasoned officer that testified about the bad character. Is that correct?
I don't know if it was seasoned.
Yeah, no, I looked. It's not.
It's
It was
an
a fellow
inmate, right? And I think there's a distinction between a fellow inmate and an officer with decades of experience. And it's not just I that think that. I mean, I think if you go back and look at Posey v. State, which you may have already looked at, 152, Georgia Appeals 216, there you have a case where a seasoned officer testified about bad character of a defendant. The court in that case called for, there should have been a mistrial. It says that when it's impossible for the trial court by corrective instruction to rectify the harm done by improper testimony, a mistrial must be granted. And again, the issue here is you have a seasoned officer, someone with years of experience testifying. And in Posey, there's really very instructive language from our courts where they say, we reiterate here, I'm sorry, I'm talking too fast.
And too loudly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tone it down. We reiterate here what we said in Boyd. It may well be argued that peace officers are not always well acquainted with our rules of evidence and that statements such as the one here are merely inadvertent. I'm going to stop the quote for a second to say something, which is, again, here we have a peace officer, here we have an investigator who is well seasoned. The quote continues, but if we refuse to reverse this judgment, then we provide no incentive to district attorneys and solicitors to counsel their witnesses, especially law enforcement officers, to avoid extraneous and inadmissible outbursts. It is high time that this court go on record as opposing without reservation such conduct by law enforcement officers. Posey is exactly on point. Posey calls for a mistrial. This officer should have known better. The state should have properly prepared the witness to not issue, to not blurt out, to not state so clearly that my client was just getting out of prison. It cannot be corrected, Your Honor.
All right. Any last words by the state? Well, actually, never mind. It's the defense's motion, so y'all don't get any last words. All right. I think I am finding that this was not intentionally elicited on the part of the state. However, I also am finding that this witness as a law enforcement officer should have known better than to make any mention of it. It is, however, significant that one of the charges against Mr. Kendrick in this indictment is that he is a convicted felon. Were it not for that, I would grant the mistrial motion. But given that this jury already knows that he's been convicted and is a convicted felon anyway, even without this testimony, I don't think that a mistrial is warranted. I am, however, going to give a curative instruction, and as a sanction for this having occurred, that's the end of the testimony from this witness.
Hey, y'all can get mad at Whitaker if you want to. She wasn't wrong. But she got rid of his ass because ain't no telling what Detective Dennis was going to do, because basically she told him, get your ass on out.
Repeat after me the holy phrase. Nigga, get your black ass out of here. Nigga, get your black ass out of here.
Whitaker wasn't wrong with how she handled it and what she did, because though Weinstein talked about the prisoner giving it up, I don't think it was the fact that it was a prisoner. I think it was because of the fact that what was did, what was said, how they did it. Didn't matter who had did it. So that's my interpretation from how the judge did it, because that judge, she got rid of all of his shit. Here's some highlights of what he said today.
About anything that could have happened at those two homes.
Yes.
Right. And did you know anything about those shootings prior to speaking to Mr. Zachary?
Yes.
What information did you have about those two shootings as a part of your investigation prior to speaking with Mr. Zachary?
It could be hearsay. I don't know. It's a broad question, so I'm going to preliminary object to hearsay and confrontation clause, unless it is narrow.
Overruled.
The weapon that Mr. Zachary was caught with in May of 2015 was not even back to the second shooting of Rayshawn Bennett's mother's house where she was shot.
On January 28th, 2015, did you ever interview a woman by the name of Antrevia Smith?
Yes.
And what was your reason for interviewing with Ms. Smith?
Her apartment was shot up on Springdale Road.
And did that shooting happen on January 28th, 2015?
Yes.
And was that 2 days after the last incident we just discussed?
Yes.
And based on your investigation, do you know if she was the target of that shooting?
That would be hearsay and confrontation clause.
Overruled.
Her residence was the target. I don't think necessarily her, but her residence was.
And based on your investigation, were you aware of anyone else staying at her residence during this time period?
No objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Based on our interview of her, she explained that
That would be confrontation clause.
That would also be impeachment.
Sustained.
Your Honor, Ms. Smith testified and denied who was in her home.
So prior
inconsistent statement.
Okay, overruled.
Mr. Watts was at her home during the shooting.
And did she tell you that Mr. Watts was there at the time during the shooting?
Yes.
And did she provide you during your interview with her a video that she thought that you should have?
Yes.
And what was that video?
Her neighbor had a camera set up in the window pointing outward, so it basically captured the drive-by shooting.
Did she provide you any other videos?
She provided us a video of Mr. Sledge Montunk and Quindarius Zachary basically taunting Mr. Watts and their rivals.
And I want to show you what's already been admitted as Stacey Exhibit 441Y. It should come up on your screen. Provided to you after she told you that Mr. Watts was in her home when her home was shot up.
Yes.
So as far as what he was supposed to do, he was coming in as the gang expert. So before he was the detective, that's why they brought the detective videos in, and then he was supposed to be the gang expert. But that is a devastating blow to the state. Because Gaither really didn't provide anything. So there's that. And then, I don't want to sound mean.
Call your next witness.
Do I instead call Officer Rogers to the stand?
What's the last name?
Rogers.
Okay, thank you.
David Rogers, DavidRodgers.
Run it some more, goddamn me. And like I told y'all, Matador Adams was on his heels today. Let me dice up something real quick, and then let the Matador do his thing.
I tried to pull ahead of Mr. Eppinger, get out. I gave him commands, advising him that he did have paper. Also, I told him he had warrants. He kind of looked at me, looked past me, proceeded to walk past me. At this time, I'm traveling behind Mr. Eppinger. I go to put hands on him, start to pull on him and things of that nature. And as I'm pulling on him, trying to grab him, I kind of start to look over my shoulder, trying to locate my partner, because Mr. Eppinger at the time was non-compliant, still walking, still kind of doing what he was doing. And when my partner wasn't there at that time, I chose to transition from lethal force, downgraded to my taser. Went to go tase Mr. Eppinger, but when I went to go access my taser, I couldn't drop the hood. I didn't drop the hood, and so when I turned my body to access it with my right hand is when I started feeling these shots.
So let's kind of slow that down, okay? Let me ask you this. At the time and when you went to go apprehend Mr. Eppinger, did you have your body cam on?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have dash cam in your vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now you said that you got out the car and you went to go and grab him. When you got out the car, did you have your gun?
Yes, ma'am. I had my gun drawn on him at first. Came out lethal force. He was known to carry weapons and things of that nature. And like I said, I go to put my hands on him because he kind of walks past me. After I told him who I was, announced my agency, let him know that he had warrants. He kept proceeding down the sidewalk. And so as I'm engaged with him, I'm kind of looking back over my shoulder for my partner, and he isn't coming. So I had to switch to another plan since I wasn't physically able to overcome him. And so at that time, I holstered my weapon and decided to switch over to my taser. Had trouble accessing my taser.
What made you decide to switch from your gun to your taser?
Just the sheer size of him. I knew I wasn't going to be able to overpower him, but at the time he didn't have anything in his hands. And so I felt it necessary to transition.
Okay.
My bad on that last clip. I want y'all to be Adams for a minute. Here's the video of what happened, and then we'll get to the cross of Adams, because it's pretty interesting. Y'all ready?
And we're going to begin at 18:04.
She's on the way. $61.70, $61.60. You up on SOS? On the ground, boy. On the ground. On the ground. On the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground, bro. Get on the ground. You got paper. Get on the ground. I ain't did nothing, bro. You want to say he's not fine? What's that? What's that? 2637 on Hayville. This is what I
Where's Trinity?
Thank you. Is it Sergeant?
Yes, it is.
Davis, true?
Correct.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Keith Adams, and I represent Jeffrey Williams, gentleman sitting right there in the black. I want to ask you a couple questions about what we just saw, what we just saw on the screen, these two videos. One was a dash cam, one was a body cam, true?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, is it fair to say that you weren't involved in the case, but your role as manager of the dash cam department, body camera department, is what brings you in here?
Correct.
Okay. But you did have an opportunity to look at these videos and observe them, true?
I did.
And so you're able to testify that they are what they purport to be. They show images that are accurate as best you can tell?
Correct.
Okay. And so what we're seeing is actually what happened out there that day.
Yes.
And what we're hearing is what happened and what was said and all the sounds and everything that happened at that time, true?
That's correct.
All right. Now, on the first one that we saw, which was, I believe, the body camera.
Correct.
That is, it starts with us, we see from inside of the vehicle. Is that right?
Correct.
Is it clear to you from looking at that, from the handcuffs that are hanging from in the front, that this is a police car that this gentleman is in, the officer? So it is a marked police car, and am I correct that we see it pull up and then come to a stop?
Yes.
And you saw in the video, did you not, and heard when the officer gets out of the car, right? You saw that?
Yes, I saw
right.
that.
You'd agree with me that he encounters this one person, the person who we come to know as Mr. Eppinger, right?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Eppinger, this guy's by himself.
Yes.
Right. So you have an officer in the video that you can see getting out of a car, and he's confronting this one person. There's not a group of people with him. This is just this guy, Eppinger, by himself, walking, right?
That's what the footage showed, yes.
And would you agree with me, the footage shows the officer telling him to get on the ground, trying to apprehend him, right?
That's what it showed, yes.
Now, the video, that body camera from that first one, it doesn't show, there's a point where it kind of goes on the ground and you can't really see much more, but you can still hear what's going on, right?
Correct.
And you hear the shots.
Correct.
Okay, now, so this guy, Eppinger, that we see first in the first video, we see him again in the dash cam, the second video that was shown. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would you agree with me that the dash cam from that second video is not from Officer Rogers' car, it's from the other car? Is that true?
No, that's from Officer Rogers' car that he exited out of.
That's Officer Rogers' car?
Yes.
Okay. So you see the dash cam pointing out, and there's a point where you see both Officer Rogers and this guy, Eppinger, both in the frame of the video. You agree?
I think you're kind of mistaken. What you see initially, the position of the body cam of him exiting the car, the door opening. Once he closes, you see the body camera as he has interaction with the gentleman.
Okay.
The second video that was shown was the actual car, the camera that's mounted inside of the vehicle, the dash cam itself.
Right, and that's what I was talking about, the second video. And you agree in the second video, at some point, they come into the frame of the video and you see both individuals, right? Sure. You agree with me that the officer doing his job is trying to interact with Eppinger, this guy Eppinger, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you hear a series of shots. And at the time that you hear the shots, you actually see Eppinger shooting at the officer. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. You'd agree with me that there doesn't appear to be anyone else around.
Not that I saw, no.
Right. There's no one advising or encouraging this guy, kid, whatever he is, Eppinger, to do what he's doing. He appears to be acting on his own. Is that right?
That's what it appears, yes.
And then you hear a second set of shots. And am I correct that is after this guy Eppinger runs off, you hear some other shots, which will be another officer shooting at him, right?
No one was shooting. I don't know who was shooting, but you do hear more gunfire.
Okay. And at that time, when Eppinger runs off and runs around the corner, there's no one else with him.
With Eppinger, you mean?
That's
no,
right.
I didn't see anyone. No.
Okay. There's no one who appears to be running with him or anything like that, right?
Not from the footage, no.
Okay. You don't know this kid, Eppinger, do you? And I say kid, out of this guy, Eppinger.
No, I don't know the young man. No, sir.
Okay. All right. Would you agree with me? And this is what I heard, and I want you to tell me if I'm correct, if this is what you heard as well. In the very first video, when Officer Rogers gets out of the car and he's telling Eppinger to get on the ground, did you hear Eppinger saying, I didn't do nothing, I didn't do nothing?
Yes, I heard something to
All right.
what you said, right.
And again, Rogers pulls up in a marked police car, as far as you know, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so, this verbiage, I didn't do nothing, it appears that he is, you don't say I don't do nothing to someone who's not a cop.
Objection, speculation.
I withdraw.
Okay,
I withdraw.
okay.
All right. I don't need you to play it again, but if I'm correct, looks like he had on some white pants and a silver bubble jacket kind of thing.
That's what it appears.
Okay. All right. Sergeant Davis, I think that's all I have.
All right, any other defense attorneys with questions for this witness? Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your time. You're excused. Call your next witness.
And that's why you take that shit to motherfucking trial. Because that officer obviously is traumatized and his ass should not have been up there. That's number one. And clearly, this shit ain't coming out. It is what it is. He lied. Flat out lied. You didn't say none of that shit you said. None of that. And you came at that man with your damn gun. Sorry to say this, but your ass should have waited for your officer friend, your backup, and then apprehended Mr. Eppinger. If you knew his ass was armed and dangerous, why the hell would you approach him with your gun out like that if you ain't willing to shoot him? I'm not saying he deserved to get shot, but I ain't holding no sympathy for his ass either. Your ass got out and started slamming like a goddamn slave on him. Hey, boy, get your ass out on the ground. Who the fuck you talking to? Bang! Bang, bang! Bang, 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 bang! I think that's 6 shots. I can't count. So, I'm not making fun of him for getting shot, but what I can say is I understand his ass getting shot. Now, that don't mean Briss ain't screwed. Nah, he done. Yeah, you can be Briss all you want, but they're going to be calling you Georgia code, penal number, blah, 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 dash, blah, 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 blah. What was today about? A continuance of this YSL war. Now, unless I missed it, when we start getting the other shit about the social media stuff, it's going to look bad. Let me tell y'all now, it is cats on social media that is in that courtroom, I believe, that are celebrating that shit that happened to that cop. And that's what tipped the damn iceberg. That's what ultimately made them speed up the process of getting these guys the hell off the street. Is when that officer, when Wayne Head got shot, bruh, that's what screwed their asses over and made them expedite everything. But in hindsight, it was going to come anyways. But still, it might have saved them a little bit too, because they looking real reckless, bruh. This looked like this shit was just thrown together like shit on a stick. Pardon me for swearing. Let me stop that. Gonna be hard. Either way I go. Dennis was actually doing good. Then he dropped that Boys in the Hood reference, which was just weird as hell. But all right, bro, that was weird. But it wasn't that far off. Y'all cats that's not on the West Coast and not in Los Angeles County in particular, them movies don't be all the way off, bro. I'm gonna keep it authentic with you. There are some identifiers. You telling me when they put Bloods and Crips in certain things that they don't have the hats right? You a damn lie. They actively go get gang members to portray the life that they live in. You think Baby Boy? Never mind. You don't have my son. But nah, bro. Today was an F on the state. Because at the end of the day, Hilton, you tried. You tried. You tried. But when they had to strike all that shit he said, bro, and she was damn near crying, like, please, Your Honor, please, master, let me please have another crumb, please. Please give me one more shot at the point of the apple, just so we can go ahead. We will stop our cross-examination today, and we will let him be crossed by the defense. Just please let us have this in here. And I'm like, Weinstein walked his ass up there. Your Honor, do I really have to say? That's it. Send his ass on the plane. Take your ass back to St. Louis. Go stop a ride in Ferguson or something. Get your slow ass out of here, you damn sloth. But, yeah, bro. Dennis, you look pretty damn dumb today after you did that shit. And I ain't gonna hold you. When he said, I've been here 3 times already, which I only can recount twice, but maybe before some stuff that was off camera, that kind of let me know you ain't want to be there. I'm sorry. I can't stand going to the same restaurant 3 times. And I got a stomach on me. You hear me? So it is what it is. That's what the state get. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Mandark voice. But either way it go, subscribe to the bell to notify, and I'll catch you on the next one. Because at the end of the day, none of that shit that Briss did literally mattered. Okay, he had a YSL tattoo on his face. Cool. But what if Brisk would have been wearing, I don't know, a Walmart shirt with his name on it? And then next thing you know, a couple of other cats from Walmart got in trouble. One for stealing cars, one for shooting somebody, one for fighting a bunch of people. Are you going to classify Walmart a gang as well? Didn't think so. That's what it's literally looking like right now. But we'll see. One of the aces up their sleeves is supposed to be Officer Viverito. And we're going to see. And if I'm Duke and I'm Ashley Merchant, I don't know, bro. I'm kind of looking at that deal a little bit like, give me full immunity. I'm finna take some of these charges off this shit. Fuck it. Because they're really trying to just bring in a bunch of questions and bring in a bunch of videotapes and all of this other stuff that, honestly, it's all up to interpretation. So the state is going to try to play a phone call where Duke is talking about girls, and they're going to try to make it sound like he's talking about something else. Just keep on watching. It's going to get good.
And what specific information? Here's what I'm trying to get to, Detective. I'm really not trying to trick you or anything.
Okay.
But I want to know specifically, is there a book, is there a training manual that specifically deals with rap lyrics as it relates to gangs?
No.
Okay. You referenced before, I think you used the words, my own background is used to decipher this information. You talked about movies. So are we talking simply about you looking at the movie Menace to Society?
Yes, I've seen it, yes.
Right, looking at the movie Boys in the Hood?
Yes.
And you're saying that that is what you have used to form your expertise in regards to rap lyrics and the relationship between rap lyrics and gangs?
What I'm saying is, based on my own upbringing, growing up in a gang-infested environment, my own education, my own training, as well as watching these said movies is where I formulated my opinion.
Have there, other than what you yourself have experienced in your own personal life, right, have there been any, for example, instructors, professors, or anyone else who have taught you using material or a lesson plan in regards to the relationship between rap lyrics and gang? No?
No.
All right.
How did I ever started this stupid fan club in the first place?